So now I am so thrilled to introduce our first keynote speaker, Karen Washington. She is one of the recipients, along with Stephen Ritz, of Food Tank's 2016 Bright Spot Award. This award is dedicated to individuals and organizations who are committed to furthering Food Tank's mission of highlighting stories of hope and success in the food system and developing innovations that nourish both people and the planet. Karen is truly one of the heroines in the food movement. I've had the pleasure of knowing her and her work for many years, and she is really one of the most inspiring people I've ever known. She is an activist, a gardener, a food entrepreneur, and an advocate for healthy, affordable, accessible, and sustainable food. Her work with Rise and Root Farm to turn vacant lots into gardens is not only helping provide fresh food to communities in the Bronx, but also inspiring a new generation of farmers and advocates. Karen, thank you for your commitment to making New York a better place to live and providing an example of how cities can both produce good food, provide leadership skills to youth, and help improve public health overall. Please join me in welcoming Karen to the stage. We're so honored to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me grab this, and the stage is yours. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Karen Washington. I tell people I'm a farmer. I grow food. I feed people, body and mind. I want to take this time to thank Danielle and Food Tank for asking me to speak and be their opening keynote. At first, when I got the call, I was somewhat apprehensive and reluctant about coming, mainly because for so long I would come to food conferences and I would look in the audience and I wouldn't see people who looked like me. Or many times looking in the audience and seeing that people who should be here have not been invited. Many times the voices and work of people of color are not being validated as stakeholders or placemakers, rather being seen as someone's next project. Mind you, there's a lot of fodder and research in assessing the lives of low-income people and people of color. Just look at the numerous statistics. Also, I should know, because it's that time of year when I get a request from some of the students from various Ivy League colleges, whose names will go nameless, with their students doing a paper or a thesis on the food system and the effects it has on people living in low-income neighborhoods. Questions such as, where do people go to shop? How do they feed their families? Are they using food stamps? And here's a good one. What happens in the winter when people can't grow their food in community gardens and urban farms? Sometimes I wonder, am I in the United States or another country? Are these the same questions students are asking affluent communities, or even approaching them on the views of hunger and poverty? I don't think so. It just goes to show you how mixed up the food system still is and how much work we still need to be done. But I'm here because I'm concerned about our food system, a system that I've often heard is broken, it needs repair, it needs to be fixed. Now I'm not quite sure. I'm starting to believe that it was set up to do exactly what it's supposed to do, fragmentation. Fragment a part of the society whereby those who can afford healthy food do, while others who can't afford healthy food and rely on cheap, unhealthy food do. I say this because in a country which is so rich in resources and wealth, and that can supply enough food to feed the people, 43 million people live in poverty and hunger, 14% of the country. We are in the midst of a presidential election where record numbers of people are coming out to hear and support their candidate, but no one is mentioning our food system. We hear a candidate talking about building this great wall and deporting the same people who are now growing our food, harvesting our food, and are in our restaurants. We hear that the FDA is now allowing GMO salmon to be sold in stores without labeling. Chicken being sent to China for processing, where do you think that food is going to end up? Yet we have people who can eloquently speak and talk about hunger and poverty, but never experience it, nor step foot into a community affected by it. We just can't focus on food alone and feel that's enough. We must look at the food system at large as it intersects our economy, environment, health, housing, education, and that four-letter word, race. This seems a daunting task, but let's look at it this way. People in underserved communities are often told that if they want food security, all they have to do is get away, just throw away soda and drink water. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Grow your own food, as if somehow by doing this it's going to solve the structural problems in our food system. This cannot happen without addressing the structural determinants that reinforce racism in our society. How can you expect a person to eat healthy, feed their family, stay in good health, pay rent or mortgage, send their kids to school without a job or with a low-paying job? Think about that. No, we rather send them to food pantries and soup kitchen because it makes us feel good. And humanistically, my new term, it does. However, once humility sets in and you see the same people and the same faces with their families day in and day out, each day coming, asking for a hand out, but never being offered a hand in to the solution in solving their dilemma. Something is wrong with that. How do we change this food system so that each day I don't have to drive by a line of people with their shopping carts waiting for the next big truck to drop off food, or people standing in the freezing cold at 6 a.m. in the morning to make sure that the food doesn't run out? We need to stop thinking and talking about what is happening and start doing. And that change starts with giving up power. That's right, I said power. Very difficult to do because power is a drug. It's that 5-letter word that bucks against that 4-letter word, race, that 4-letter word, poor, that 4-letter word, sick. Because as long as a food system embraces a power dynamic society, it will remain stagnant and resistant to change. So, when does the power dynamics of the food system show up in our society? Well, when you don't have it, it shows up as hunger. When you can't afford it, it shows up as poverty. When it's killing you because you're eating processed food filled with sugar and salt, it's diet-related diseases. When you don't deserve it because someone is telling you because you don't eat organic food, the food that you're eating means nothing, or when others control it, such as Big Ag. So over the course of the next 2 days, let's bring some common sense to this food economy and put some wheels on this food tank and move us closer to dismantling a system that has not been fair and just for all. We don't need statistics to tell us who is poor, who is hungry, sick, nor a mapping of the so-called food deserts, and don't get me started on that term, that's for another day. We need to understand that behind those numbers is a person, a human being. Give that person the opportunity to have a good paying job, to own a business, to own their own land. Then that person who we decide to categorize as poor, whom we deem powerless, has now become powerful. In closing, my views for the future. 2 weeks ago, I turned 62, and I have been fortunate enough to be around to experience the thoughts, opinions, and visions of many of our youth. We have a generation of doers who embrace change and have no fear of it. You see that it's happening now. What we don't accomplish now, I feel the next generation will. So, enough talk. Let's roll up our sleeves and put this food tank in motion. Let's get to work. Thank you.